Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's podcast. So I've got a friend of mine with me, Kirk Miller, who's a high-performance coach and founder, owner of the Built to Last community and programme. Mm-hmm. And this is going to be an interesting podcast. One of the reasons is that there's a million reasons. It's going to be a frank conversation, brutal maybe at times, but I think people need that. You know, there's too much nowadays of not telling it as it is, not telling the truth. People being a bit afraid to say what's the reality. But you're not, so we'll listen to that in a bit. But one of the other reasons why I really like what you do is, one, you live and breathe what you talk about, right? So you're a living example. What you do, you put your money where your mouth is, right?
I'll be the standard.
There you go.
Ironically, that's probably why we get on so much. Yeah.
And the other thing that you talk about, and I talk about quite a bit, and we was together in Marbella over the summer, chatting. And one of the things I've got about life is that, and don't ask me where this analogy came from, but it just did one day in Ibiza. I was sat there talking about life, and I was with a guy who was ultra fit, and his whole life he ticked the fitness box. But actually, there was a lot of other areas of his life that he was lacking. And I talked about how to win a game of Trivial Pursuit, you need 6 cheeses. And I've said this on this podcast before, right? You can't win the game of Trivial Pursuit by being good at sport and answering all the sport questions. Because once you've got the orange cheese, you then need to go and get the entertainment, the literature, the whatever the other categories are. And I think life is the same. If you've got health, you need to look at wealth. If you've got other things, it could be love, it could be families, it could be others. You can define your own 6 or whatever, right? And with you, a big focus on what you're about is lasting change, but also about human beings that want to be the best version of themselves across areas. Yeah. You might use health or you might use fitness in the first instance, but actually it's about how that then ripples into other areas of their life, right? So that's what we're going to talk about a lot today. Look, before we move on to that then, Built to Last, let's just go back to your background as a youth footballer, where you started out.
Yeah, so that was the original dream. First of all, thank you so much for having me, Paul. Nice. The original dream is to be a professional footballer. I was a Manchester United fan. Yeah. When Manchester United were good, that was when obviously Fergie was, doing what he did. Originally from a council estate in Coventry, so my dream from an early age was a million miles away. Do you know what I mean? Council estate kid, got pretty good at football very quickly. I don't want to make this too much of today's podcast about me. I want to add as much value as possible, but I think your story is so important in shaping who you are today, what you believe you're capable of, as we'll talk about in a second. But yeah, I got picked up by Coventry at the age of 10. Was captain of most football teams, Paul. I was, without realising, I was the big mouth that always tended to get the best out of people. And looking back, didn't realise how I did it. I just had a knack of saying the right thing at the right time, which I think is a great trait as a leader. But now I understand the psychology behind it now. And, at the age of 13, after being with Coventry for 3 years, I had that dream in the palm of my hand. Manchester United, they'd watched me at a pre-season tournament, called my house, and I remember to this day, I'm in the bottom of a bunk bed. Me and my brother, we shared a bunk bed in a house in Coventry, and he's writing a piece of paper, Man United scouts calling. And very long story short, Paul, I had 2 choices. You got a safe option, stay with Coventry. Yeah, Gordon Strachan, who we just spoke about, comes to the training ground knowing that Manchester United called me, and he says, we know Manchester United have been calling you. You ain't go nowhere. We want to offer you a contract. So they offered me a professional contract, Paul, at the age of 13, which was unheard of at the time. Right. So I knew at the age of 13, that aspirational dream from, when you can first run and kick a ball at 4 or 5, your dad puts a Man United kit on you. Effectively, my dream of being a professional footballer was there, okay? So I knew 4 years later I'm going to be signed for pro if I chose Coventry, or I take the riskier option, with Manchester United, where you just sign schoolboy forms. For any of you listening, I don't know if it's changed, but what they used to do was you sign schoolboy forms from the age of 14 to 16, And then you, at the age of 16, that you get the club decides whether you're going to get took on as an apprentice or a young professional. And yeah, I basically chose the safe option, Paul, signed for Coventry. 3 years after that safe option, when I was 17, I get released in a 30-second conversation by Gary McAllister, obviously great, played for Liverpool, Scottish captain, getting told I weren't good enough. So it was the first lesson in life, Paul, that the comfortable option never worked well for me. Do you know what I mean? There's no such thing as a safe option, whether it's to be your body, whether it's to your business, you know, but that was a massive lesson. And why I'm so passionate about mindset, as we'll talk about today, Paul, is the only reason, in my opinion, I chose Coventry over Manchester United was because Kirk Miller from Council Estate Coventry didn't believe he was good enough when it come to the crunch, even from that external front of being the captain of all the teams in Coventry and, you know, the big fish in a small pond. When that pivotal moment, I needed that confidence to believe in myself, I didn't. And obviously 7 years later, got released after that. And I suppose just fast tracking to what I'm doing now, of course, I get business leaders in shape all around the world. That is why I'm so passionate, Paul, on violating limiting beliefs. When people put a cap on themselves or what they believe they're capable of, whether it's to do with their body, whether it's to do with their business or any aspirations, you know, to have a certain level of confidence, I've been the guy that, you know, knows what it to feel like, you know, to let myself down, you know, in that respect. So, you know.
What was your next step after you got released?
Well, this might relate to a lot of people who've attached their whole identity to their career, as we spoke about prior to this podcast, mate. Or if you've done sport, or maybe been like I was, maybe aspirational footballer, I'd attach my whole identity to being a footballer. If you'd have said to me from the age of probably even 5, you know, when you first start playing for a football team, up to 20, who is Kirk Miller, I'd have said to you, I'm a footballer. It was what I did, not who I was. So because I'd attached my whole identity to being a footballer, then that football dream is took away. You're in no man's land. And just to be transparent, like, you know, I've been in shape for over 24 years, but this is why, as we'll talk about today with Paul, it's not all about the body. Because after I got released by Gary McAllister, still had a six-pack, still in great shape, because I was one of the few players in the gym who loved the gym, right? That was I still love training. So when I got released, I'm still in the gym day to day. That was my security blanket. That was where I got significance still. But professionally, I'm not, what do I do? So I retrained as a gas engineer, a plumber, because that was safe. And that was another, the second time I'd chosen to choose the safe option as a plumber. Horrendously unhappy, Paul. You know, it's because the thing I'd replace football with, that was now doing 40, 50, 60 hours instead as a plumber, that wasn't what I'm on this earth to do. So as a result of that, destructive behaviour patterns, drink, drugs, to be transparent, shitty relationships, because I wasn't happy with myself, wasn't getting my needs met by what I was doing. You know, so about 6-7 years, mate, after getting released, I'm in no man's land with my career, still on the front end, appeared super confident, you know, in the gym, because you got the six-pack, you know, you don't struggle with women, things like that. Still the bit, you know, on a night out, you know, everything's good on the front end, but deep down, struggling. That's why I can see cracks in some people, even the people I coach sometimes, who might have the status, might have the cars, might have the go on the fancy holidays, and might have the family on the front end. But, you know, if you're lying to yourself internally, Paul, and there's no judgment, anyone listening to this, and because I've been the guy who's had the body, and, you know, after 6 years after being released, won a men's health competition, I'd been on the front cover of one of the magazine that most men would love to be on. It was still horrendously fragile mentally at that point, you know.
Let's just talk about that identity, because you know, it was something that we're taught. I've been away with a couple of business guys over the last weekend from yesterday, and one of the things that got brought up was identity.
It's everything.
And so somebody said something to me and said, well, you'd be fucked if something happened to Sedulo, because Sedulo is your whole identity. And I agree with them on that, I think. And the reason I agree with them is because I've thought that in the past. I thought, when you get stuff in life, you're really scared of losing it, right? You're scared of losing it. I sometimes feel like when we started out in business and I had nothing, I had nothing to lose. They were almost the freest that I ever was. I was the most mentally free when I had nothing to lose. Now, if you've got nothing to, it's hard to wear that if you've got nothing to lose right now. He's fucking all right. Him saying that right now.
I suppose the only way you're looking at that, Paul, is the only way is better.
Yeah, it's a bit
way.
like if you see a backer in a fight and he gets backed into a corner, you just see like, you might as well come out swinging. You might as well come out fighting. Your almost anxiety goes, I think, at that stage, because it's a bit like when COVID come.
Yeah.
I looked around and sat in here thinking, oh, I don't know whether this is going to destroy my business. Nobody knew what was going on. And it but instead of it scaring me, it actually excited, weird. The COVID in business concept made me think, okay, this could be, this is a bit of a challenge of you. But it felt like a real challenge that I felt like, now you need to fucking show who you are.
You step up.
But when I go back to the identity bit, what you're really afraid of is Paul Cheetham and Sedulo synonymous with it at the moment. They're like this. They're interlinked. And I said to Zoe once, a deal would have fallen through or something wasn't going right. And she goes, what would happen? True story. What would happen if something happened to Sedulo? Nothing's guaranteed. You can't guarantee anything in this life. What would happen? And I said, if something happened to Sedulo, I think we'd have to pack our bags, sell everything off, move to Barbados or wherever, because I couldn't walk around the city of anywhere that I've got an office. I just couldn't do it anymore. Don't ask me why. I said, because my identity and Sedulo's identity is so synonymous. So talk to me about that. So when you've got a client that comes to you, and you must have plenty, how do you kind of get, if it's a business owner, it doesn't have to be a business owner, but somebody who's got their identity attached to something that actually they're not in control of is pretty dangerous, right?
I think, I mean, look, it's such a fantastic question. It's, you could go, we could speak for hours about this, but with identity, I mean, what is identity first and foremost? Because it's a word that's chucked around a lot. It's a word that uses, identity is nothing but a bunch of beliefs about who you are, what you believe you're capable of, and how you distinguish yourself differently from the rest of the world. It's the one thing that is completely unique to you. It's how you describe yourself to yourself when no one else is around. Because ultimately, I believe the quality of life, Paul, is down to the quality of conversation with yourself, to yourself, when no one else is around, right? So for me, with identity, first of all, you need to get clear on how is it I actually just describe myself. If someone was to ask you, Paul, who is Paul, it's going to start with the words I am. That's why I think whatever words follow the words I am, if someone was to say, who are you, whatever you follow that with I am, that's who you are, because words shape reality. And so what I would say to anyone, and look, no one's got this figured out, by the way, because the one thing with identity, you have to continually expand it. Right? You'll usually know if you've got a sticking point in your mentality, your beliefs, your identity is, things will be sticky. You'll keep getting signs. A lesson will keep repeating itself. You'll experience more negative emotions rather than positive emotions. But for me, I think identity, if I was to say to you, tell me the words I am, and what words would you describe yourself after that? If you're not happy with those words, then we need to explore how can we start describing ourselves in a better way? What do we need to do ultimately?
Yes.
Because I think identity, there are so many different ways, Paul, to expand your identity, but there's nothing more powerful than actually learning more and becoming more, because most people, maybe this a little bit with yourself with Sedulo, and this why I'm so fascinated by human needs psychology, Paul, is most people, especially business owners and entrepreneurs, in my opinion, they attach a large part of their identity to their career, which you did. But how did you become a master in that field in the first place? You'd have learned, you'd have become more valuable, more important. You probably more people are looking up to you. You feel like a more sense of contribution. And in my opinion, mate, if you've done it once, you can do it again. John, if I was to say to you, Paul, or anyone listening to this, what do you love most about what you do? What would that be?
Yeah.
Most people, from my experience, most business leaders, especially entrepreneurs, they love having to perform at their best so other people perform at their best, you know. Because that the identity thing, sorry to veer off on this, someone asked me a question of, you know, why do I love what I do? Because even like similar boat, really.
Yeah.
We've got different you got different business. I've got, you know, my built to last clients and all that stuff is, someone said to me, you know, what do you love most about what you do? Deep down, it was the same as what I loved about football.
Yeah.
Because at football, yes, I love winning, love competitiveness, I love a purpose, a drive, a target, all that stuff, right? I'm sure if you're in a certain career or business, you totally relate to that. But I actually broke it down. What did I actually love about football? That revealed the clue really to what I love about doing now. I loved having to perform at my best as a captain so other people believed in themselves more and performed better, because I was the guy that always played better in big games. So it would surprise me, Paul, even with yourself, of when you break down that question, and maybe this is just a great thing to explore with anyone listening, is what do you love most about what you do? What gets you excited? What gets you most passionate? Put pen to paper on that, and that will reveal the clue of, if, for example, Sedulo did get took away, trust me, Paul, I know your character. You'd find a way to go, right, what did I actually love? Was it the growth? Was it the learning? Was it helping create opportunities? If you've done it once, you've done it again. And maybe that's why there wasn't that fear aspect, you know, when COVID happened, because it was the same for me, Paul. We come from very similar backgrounds. I come from nothing, council estate background, very proud. But when COVID happened, the same thing happened to me, Paul. I remember I just thought, well, I started with nothing, so I just roll my sleeves up, I'll do it again. You know, if you've been through it again and you're more time you condition that as part of your character, you'd no doubt you'd find another venture of some sort. But you need to ask yourself that question. I think one of the key things is any single person, like if they're struggling to like describe their own identity or see where they're at, is what do you love most about what you currently do? What do you value most? You know, and if I was to ask you, tell me your 3 biggest superpowers, that you feel make you unique, what are they? And the more you can align what you do to the things you love most and your values, then you'll experience more heightened emotions, in my opinion. You know, sounds a bit heavy and deep, but it's just
that's what this podcast is going to be.
It is. It's just a lot of people just don't ask themselves the right question. But I think that's why what you do is so important, and really being congruent with yourself. Don't bullshit yourself. If you're not happy with what you're doing, what can you do to change that? If you're not happy with yourself and how you feel about yourself, what can you actually physically do? Do you know what I mean, Paul? It's
and people can do a lot more than what they think they can.
100%.
When it comes to that. So you go through your period where you're on the front of Men's Health.
Yes.
And it looks great from the outside, but inside you're dealing whatever demons you've got to deal with.
Men's Health, listen, it was 2010, so what were we on? 2022 now, 40 next year. Time goes fast, right? But 2010, mate. I was the guy prior to that. I don't know any listeners relate to this. So I used to pick up that magazine and look at it. Oh, God, I'm in better shape than that dude. Or, you know, I look similar. I think, you know, but I think the knockback from that Gary McAllister, you know, conversation, where that was the first time in my life I got told I weren't good enough, Paul, and I folded. It was basic rejection. And I think, you know, an inability to handle rejection affected me then in relationship shortly after that. Right? And you just look at this magazine, you go, oh, I could do that. But I didn't quite believe it because I hadn't violated the limiting belief, you know, from all those years. And I'll go as far as saying that from the age of 13, I turned down Manchester United up to that 26, 27, that's what I'm so passionate about, helping violate people's beliefs. 13, 14 years, you're still getting controlled by that limiting belief. That's why I'm so passionate about mindset. But Men's Health, you know, get a phone call, you know, say you've made the final. And I remember, mate, I'd been on a 2-week all-inclusive holiday with my previous partner. I'd been one of these guys that when you went on holiday, it was eat yourself to death, drink yourself to death, getting your money's worth as you do, right? Because I weren't that because I was so unhappy with the job that I wasn't doing. So you live for the holidays and the weekend, right? And I remember like getting this phone call and like, when is it? Like, it's 11 days. I'm looking at my body going, what's going on here? It was like a weird feeling, Paul. I knew I was going to win. So I just knew like that's a penny drop. I've got a third lesson in life here of take a chance and believe in yourself, because guess what? Not believing in yourself hasn't served you too well, and that's why you know if you're not happy with who you are, like what's worse going to happen, as you said. And yeah. Long story short, I win the competition. But I remember even the day of the final pool when I won. You know, I'm just winning a global competition, a national competition. Sorry, you got thousands of lads who trying to enter this, and then the night of the competition, I remember my pals come up from Coventry because they just assumed I was going to win, and I'm pissed.
Yeah.
And at that point, mate, I was messing around at weekends with stuff you shouldn't do.
Yeah.
And I'm doing that the day I'm winning Men's Health, mate. And it just showed that deep down I'm on the front cover of a magazine.
Yeah.
And I'm in a toilet pissing around with drugs. But it just showed you, like, it body wise, what does it mean?
Yeah. So from there, then, when do you start to recognise? When do you start to recognise the outside's great, the inside's maybe not as great?
Well, when obviously you win the Men's Health competition, I knew that was my light bulb moment. Like, take a chance, believe in yourself, and I knew in that then Paul, that I wasn't on this earth to be a plumber. Do you know what I mean? So that was my cue then. Follow your passion, follow your purpose. Got my personal training qualification, quit my job with 5 hours personal training. So I took a chance, and I get friends, family, what about your bills? What if it goes wrong?
Yeah.
But it was just, I knew at that point, enough's enough. Do you know what I mean? You know in your heart you should be doing something a lot differently. And from there, become big fish in a small pond very, very quickly, Paul. Got very busy with personal training. Coventry, making more money in less time, as you do when you follow your passion and your purpose. Mm-hmm. It was over the next few years then, mate, I really, really started exploring personal development, and I realised then the importance of, mindset, and that's when the game changed altogether, Paul, because then I think there's a lot of coaches, you do your qualification and you get good at personal training, you can get, how to structure a meal plan training, but it doesn't shift long-term behaviour change. Do you know what I mean? But in order for me to teach that, I had to become the example and get control of my own mind and elevate my own confidence internally as well as externally. And did
you find that quite liberating? You see, I'm quite open, me. I'm quite open, me, with talking about my flaws. Mm-hmm. Because I find it quite liberating, because I feel like most flaws that we've all got are shared flaws.
Yeah.
And so I think the people that bottle those flaws up, laugh on the outside, might even get a six-pack to hide it, whatever it is you want to do.
Anything. It could be.
Be life and soul of the part. On a Saturday night. Mm-hmm. Really, what they're doing is trying to mask what's going on.
Yeah, it's pain.
And I think the more open you can be about stuff, nobody ever goes, oh, fucking hell. Paul said that his whole identity is attached to Sedulo, and if it goes bust, Paul's just said. Actually, when you actually just start talking about it as if it's normal, I feel like, one, it helps you, two, it helps others, because you go, well, if he's all right, if he's scared of having a beer, or if he thinks that he's, whatever it is you're thinking, or if he's insecure, I don't mind saying I'm insecure.
Exactly.
Tell everyone, mate, I'm not bothered. There was a time when my missus used to be able to rile me by saying, oh, you're just so insecure. Yeah. And there was a time where I looked around the house and then I thought, it's all built on insecurity, by the way. Let's be honest about it. The driving force in the future for me was to be accepted because of childhood stuff, and to be accepted because of rejection. And it's okay to say that's what the starting position of that it was built on. The key to it then, though, is don't keep it built on insecurity.
No, that's a choice. Exactly. I couldn't agree more, Paul, because you can play the victim. And you can keep telling people, oh, I'm insecure, I'm not happy. The more you keep saying that and doing nothing about it, it's a decision. Do you know what I mean? It's a decision. It's and you can't change from a place of blame, circumstance, or, there's always something you can do. And that's one of my pet hates is, yes, of course, you have vulnerabilities and all this stuff, but if you're doing nothing about it, then, that's a choice after that. And I think a lot of people held back from where they want to be because they have a different belief structure about what they need to do and who they need to be to get that certain point, because there would have been, I'm sure with yourself, Paul, I know there was for me, of we all have, right, as a target of what we're trying to do, who we're trying to be, but we all have beliefs about what we need to do to get that significance, you know, in that given area, you know, and they can be destructive or they can be enhancing, you know what I mean? Because, and I think that's where a lot of people, they just don't understand it. Is their belief structure outdated, you know?
Or something you said earlier, is the people around them's belief structure outdated? Because very important with who you surround yourself. You talked about before, you're about to set up a business and somebody will go, how are you going to pay the bills? You know, what happens if you don't do it? What happens if this? What happens if that? And I think a large problem with society nowadays, and I believe it's genuinely manufactured for this. Again, another conversation we had yesterday was, if you were supposed to, or if the education system in school was supposed to open your mind, Kirk, to what you're truly capable of, it would feed you with education that opens your mind. What it actually does is it goes, today's lesson is how to find the circumference of a circle.
I know.
Today's lesson is how to find the square root of a triangle. Right? What it doesn't do is go, this is what you need to eat to feel better. This is what you, and we're going to come on to that in a little bit. But it doesn't, so around you, you know, probably if you're in Eton, this isn't the case, but if you're at Reddish Vale, where I went, right, it's like, there's not this system that's going, actually, Paul, be open-minded about it. All these opportunities exist. And you've got to take risks and chances to see where your abilities lie. And sometimes you have to take knocks on the chin and failure to understand that actually you might not be as good as what you think you are, right?
100%. But also this is where, like, you know, sport is so important in children. It builds resilience, builds grit with people. And I'm the same as you. I'm not fortunate enough to have children yet, but I really believe personal development should be a subject at school. Do you know what I mean? Teaching children how to speak to themselves. Because a lot of people, even some of like the CEOs and elite entrepreneurs and stuff that I've worked with, they're still trying to prove themselves to the kid at school that got told he wasn't good enough or maybe failed in a certain academic class. But that might not be their perfect way of learning. You know, I'm sure, again, you've got similar people around us, Paul, where some of the most successful people I've coached didn't necessarily do great at school, but they're unbelievable communicators. You know, so it's these things are so important. And even just from a selfish point of view, obviously I get people in great physical shape as well as mental shape, but there's not enough awareness about the foods that kids are putting in their mouth or movement. Do you know what I mean? And because a lot of people can be held back in relationships, can be held back in business, just because of the people they surround themselves with at school, or maybe the teacher that had a different set of beliefs about what was important at school. Do you know what I mean? And that's where I think you've got to be so dangerous when people label themselves. You know, you can let one person dictate how you should see yourself. You know, and I think it's so important. So I couldn't agree more. I think there's not enough awareness about people's language patterns, state management, all these different things. You know, because it's all right going, do this, do that, but if it don't align to that person's values, you know, and their beliefs, then they're never going to be happy with what they do, irrelevant. That's why a lot of people go through the academic system. They learn because they've gone through a system to do that. But if it wasn't what they were passionate about or deep down coming back to the identity again, it's not who they are deep down. It doesn't matter how much money you've got. You know, at some point you're going to get found out, you know, 100%.
So you started doing personal training?
100%. Yeah.
And how did that develop then?
No, it was great. So in Coventry, again, got very, very busy. But I realised, one, I couldn't help as many people. Two, it wasn't scalable. And I needed to evolve with business, you know, because I think there's a lot of coaches, and I was one of these people that you're a great, you know, you can get people in shape, you're consistent myself, all that stuff, but it didn't have a clue about business, you know. And then that's when, you know, I got mentors, you know, Phil Graham, phenomenal mentor, taught me business systems, you know, how to help more people at scale. You know, moved from Coventry to London, where I was still personal training as well, Paul, but I knew I needed to test myself. You know, I knew I was getting, again, too comfortable. It's just never worked out too well for me. You know, it's sort of standing still. And it weren't just to do with financial numbers. It was more, how can I help more people grow as a person? Because, you know, you generally you get sloppy with behaviour, you know, if you stand still and stop growing. And then, working obviously alongside Phil, then built a community to develop systems and then obviously now help a lot more people at scale. But it took people outside the box who were better than me, understood a certain skill set to go, right, how can I take my passion and my skill set to help people get in physical, mental shape, help more people do that. And then evolve from there, Paul.
So the evolution now of Built to Last, what does it look like today? And what are kind of the principles that underpin it?
Well, the 3 pillars of what we do at Built to Last is 3 pillars. We build our clients' world-class body, and that's perception-led. When I say world-class body, it's getting someone in the best physical shape of their life. Violating what they could do previously. And then second pillar is superior mindset. That's a passion very close to my heart, so you probably shared just now. Because without a strong mindset, you'll never implement the decisions to create that body, or you won't be able to do that long term. As I've said many, many times before, if you've gone through an 8 to 12 week transformation, right, where you've dropped some body fat, but you're not able to sustain it, all you've proved during that short-term period is you could stick to a calorie deficit for an 8 to 12 week period, but you didn't condition that new body as part of your identity and your new lifestyle. So for me, developing the mindset, a high level of mindset, even as an elite business owner, is so important. Okay, great, becoming a better leader. And then the third pillar is living with confidence. And when I say live with confidence, it's internally as well as externally, and that's more the personal development. So it's very much like a lifestyle management program we have now, but people see on the front end the 40, 50, 60-year-old men that we get in great physical shape, but behind that it's the behavior change, it's the emotional value, it's that new pathway, the expanding those beliefs, because I think most people listen to this, if they're trying to build a great body and a healthy body, would probably understand, as we spoke about prior to this, Paul, you need to train, you need to walk and move, you need to eat good food, you need to drink water, sleep. If it was that easy, why are they not where they want to be? And for me, it's a lack of belief, it's a lack of ability to control their state, which drives decisions. And as we spoke about, it's environment. So with Built to Last, it's very much that sort of tick all the boxes approach, where if we've got someone who's got a great body, I want to look that person in the eye and make sure that that's how they truly see themselves now. Because that's where words are so powerful. If someone is saying, I have to diet, I have to train, you're on borrowed progress. If you're then saying, it's what I do, like, yourself, I train, I eat healthy, I am healthy, I am strong. Until you truly label yourself with these words and see yourself, then you're on borrowed progress. So Built to Last, what I'm trying to create, man, this is why I'm so obviously I respect so much what you do with the Be the Standard and how we connected, of course, is I'm trying to create world-class results that are lasting. Because it's, for me, if anyone ever departs my Built to Last ship, I want to know with complete certainty that they have the tools, the knowledge to sustain that as part of their lifestyle. So it complements their personal, professional, social lifestyle. So they know how to get in shape, as well as have social balance and, go out for dinner with their family and go on holidays and travel. Because all my clients, they travel, they have genuine business pressures. But as well as world-class results, it's create experiences as well, create more emotional value that goes far beyond helping people look good. That's why we have live events now as well, Paul, similar to yourself, where we've had events in Dubai, a couple in London, America, just even smaller physical meetups, mate. But it's a mentality. Like you said at the start, I just absolutely obsessed with helping people tick all the boxes. And I think there's no such thing as perfect balance. No one's got perfect balance. Like usually when, if I look at maybe when I've gone really even harder with my food for a shoot, when I'm going that hardcore, like I have done in the past, usually there's a trade-off.
Sure.
It might be not as much time with the missus, or you've been a little bit, but then on the flip side, when you might have chased business a bit more, if you let your own personal standards slip. So for me, as much as possible, it's like making sure that we're ticking all the boxes.
It's a very important point, that. And as I say, we had a Be the Standard retreat in Iceland. And sometimes you beat yourself up. A lot of people, particularly if they're high performers or they have high performing businesses or whatever, they beat themselves up in the part that they're not doing so well at. What I think people have got to do is cut themselves a bit of slack and be a bit more agile.
Yeah, yeah.
If you go to Marbella for 3 days and you want to drink, you just drink.
Yeah.
And, you know, if that's what you want to do, because the part of yourself is, you know, there's a bit of me time there, and that's what you want to do. If you want to do it, you want to eat the food that you want to eat, do it.
Yeah.
The key to it, of course, is to come back the following day and get back in on the horse and get back disciplined, right?
Yeah.
And that might be work.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes you can think, you know, if somebody has got ill health in your family, you can't expect to have balance of going to the gym, maybe.
Yeah.
You can't expect to be balanced with, might help you out that, by the way, mindset, but you can't, something's got to give.
Yeah.
If you're going to devote all your time to a loved one that's ill, then work's got to give.
Yeah.
Vice versa, if you've got a deal to do, or you've got something to do, or a new business, or whatever it is, you have to accept that. There's no point beating you up and pretending or saying you're a bad father or a bad mother or a bad parent or whatever it is, because you're spending a load of time getting a business off the ground. And I think sometimes we take a snapshot and we become unhappy with who we are at that moment in time because we pick the part that we're now.
Yeah,
no, that's what I think.
Yeah, I think this is. I think that what that comes down to for me is, I talk about this a hell of a lot with all of our guys with transformations, and I think as a high performers and business leaders, we are the worst for this. Is unrealistic expectations. You know, where you have such unrealistic expectations about what is success, what is your blueprint, what is your target with body, business, finances, family, friends, relationships, spiritual, whatever it is, whatever your, like you say, your categories of life you value most. You have such unrealistic expectations about what you need to do, who you need to be, that you're never going to hit anyway. And that's why I think like perfectionists and the all or nothing mentality is brutal.
Yeah.
But I think as a true high performer, what I would say, everyone should have an optimal standard that they're aspirational to and a minimum non-negotiable. Do you know what I mean? That's what's key for me. I think like I've never come across, whether it's an athlete or a business owner, it's a true high performer in my opinion, which doesn't have a minimum standard they refuse to never go below. Do you know what I mean? So like, I'm like you, Paul, you know, we had obviously a beer or two in Marbella. That's totally cool. As long as you've controlled the decision to do so, you can do these things and still be in great shape. You can still do these things and build a great business. But if you're feeling guilty after any of these things, ask yourself, am I being unrealistic with my expectations about what is okay to do? Yeah. Or if you are currently substandard with your body or maybe feeling a bit sloppy with your own personal standards, then that's when you just need to be honest with yourself about and up your game. Do you know what I mean? And because that's the more you can manage your expectations on a weekly, monthly basis of, right, what is my target? What is my expectation in this area? And are my living conditions aligned? The more you can make sure that how you're living, your actions, your choices, your environment are aligned to your outcome, you're going to experience more. More, but you'll be able to cut yourself some slack more. Yeah. But I think the only time you'd be beating yourself up regularly is you're just probably bullshitting yourself about how hard you're working or not to earn those things, you know, or do you need to adapt to your target and your expectations? But I think most high performers, from my standard, that they have a minimum standard. You know, and I think if you've got structure and discipline as a whole, month to month, year round, you know, you can cut yourself some slack for sure. Do you know what I mean?
When I speak to a lot of successful business owners who are not happy, they tend to be not happy with themselves. It tends to be physical. Yeah. And I was chatting to one the other day on the way back from Iceland, and said, "What are you doing tomorrow?" And he goes, "I've got my PT in the morning." And I said, "Why have you got a PT?" And he goes, "Well, he gets me there and he beasts me." Right? Anyway, we're talking about this, and I said, "I don't have a PT." Yeah. Right? But I do train every day. Yeah. Now, my training compared to your training will be quite significantly different, because I potter around the gym, right? That's what I do. I potter around the gym every day. But in reality...
You're not doing too bad, Paul, mate. Well, you scrub up all right, buddy.
I've
seen the chassis, mate.
I potter around the gym every day. And the thing is, what I do look for, mate, though, is I look for... I wouldn't say the cheats, but I think they're really easy, quick wins.
They could be more effective.
It might be your 10,000 steps. I try and do 15,000.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I was sat with a guy and I said, listen, if you're going to see a PT twice a week, what are you doing in between?
Yeah, exactly.
And he's going, well, it's hard work, going and making the next day, which means I've got to recover the next day. And I'm saying, you would be better having a more minimum, just raising your minimum standard every day that you're prepared to accept every day. It might be 10,000 steps in 2 weeks or whatever it is. That actually you do. And it's just actually you do it with not that much effort, right? There always have to be effort. But what I do find with a lot of business owners is they kind of get confused with the consistent minimums on a daily basis that could get them to somewhere much quicker than this idea of getting beasted twice a week
I think,
in a gym.
I think from my experience, Paul, having done this for so long, and listen, it's, I am someone who loves actually training hard, but whether you train 2 hours a week like a hero, 4 hours a week like a hero, 5 hours, it's actually insignificant and more demoralizing if you actually haven't got the infrastructure across the 168 hours in a week from how you eat, how you sleep, how you operate, and also as well, this is where again the straight talk will come out with probably Paul seeded at the start.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you've had a good week in the gym, a good month in the gym, or you can only train hard when you've got someone shouting at you.
Yeah.
If you go to shit when no one else is shouting at you, it's insignificant, you know. So you're the average of what you do, not what you do every now and then.
Yeah.
So for me, that's where the consistency and the sustainability is so important. But what we do with all our clients, and this is where you can pick holes, especially in business loaders, entrepreneurs to start with, is say if they say, I haven't got time to train, I haven't got time to do this, show me your calendar.
Yeah.
Show me your calendar. From my experience, a lot of business owners, your calendar is going to reveal where your priorities lie. Do you know what I mean? And a lot of people they schedule work, possibly social.
Yeah.
What about the pockets of time to maybe get the walk in?
Yeah.
Get the training in.
Yeah.
Schedule the food, because it's more demoralising if you're training a couple of times a week with a PT or not, but you're not seeing a return on investment of that time. That could be due to outside factors, within the gym that are doing that. But for me, that's where it's just make sure when you're planning your week, like just some fundamental things you can do when you're planning your week. Am I going into a week knowing I've got my work priorities scheduled, I've got family time, I've got my training session scheduled in, I've got some movement in, my food. You alleviate risk, and you got things can, they can pop up here and there, but you're not going to rely on willpower and random spurts of motivation. Because why, for me, the PT model? Look, I've been a good PT myself. I've got friends who are still PTs. I'm not saying it's wrong, but if you're with a PT and you haven't got control or management of how can I actually structure my life outside the gym, then it's irrelevant. And it's just not in the real world. When you're late 30s, 40s up, even a fixed diet plan. If I say to you, Paul, here's a diet plan, go and eat with Zeri on a Saturday night, what good's that? Or you're away on one of your trips to Finland with the lads, going, okay, mate, get your Tupperwares out.
It's not going to work, is it?
No, it's not going to work.
Not in the long term.
No, but this is the problem. And this is where to be very careful what you get fed into on the front end on social media. If someone sounds too good to be true, it generally is, but it has to be sustainable, and that's important. Unfortunately, a lot of people, the modern mindset is, got my diet plan, got my training plan, but the moment they fall off it once, or they make one mistake, especially as high performers and business leaders, they think, fuck it, and then they self-sabotage and then set themselves back weeks where, like you've just said, really, Paul, if you can just be consistently on it, at 80%, even if it's you're not being a hero every week, but you're consistently showing up and in the gym, and your food is consistently 80% good, that's going to be far better than someone who's an absolute hero, has stuck to their diet plan like a god for a week, got 2 great sessions in with a PT or 3 great sessions, but then they've gone missing for 3-4 weeks. And that for me is, when it's all said and done, I think especially as the bar keeps getting risen in high performance world, it's the people who are on it all year round. It's like great business, and Paul, look how many businesses you manage. Who cares if someone's had a good month, 2 months, 3 months? it's what you do repeatedly, year to year to year to year to year. And success leaves clues. I mean, some of the speakers you've had on, some of the speakers I've had at my own events, the one common denominator is they're consistent, and they're disciplined. You know, and that gives you more freedom when you want to do the things that you do enjoy, whether it's your beer or two, or whether you want to go out for a nice meal. You'll enjoy that so much more if you've got structure and consistency around it that is sustainable. Do you know what I mean? You know, and how do you know? You might be asking, how do you know if what you're doing is sustainable? It will feel normal. It will feel normal at week to week. Whereas if you're constantly getting friction with the way you're eating just now, and then you're falling, going to shit, it's probably not the right one for you. If you're training, if you're struggling to get your sessions in consistently, it's probably not the right strategy for you. You train at the wrong time. And, you know, if you're consistently going shit at the weekend, maybe you might need a little bit of guidance on how to live in the real world, you know.
Built to Last then, the actual, what do you call it, almost the platform of it. How does it work? How do they become a member? How do they
so built to last, to say, like, look, the outcome, as I've just said, we get business leaders, entrepreneurs in the best physical, mental shape of their life, and unleashed from within confidence they never thought possible, without compromising their lifestyle. That's what's key. Okay, but in order to do that, I spoke a lot about structure, you know, the last few minutes. From my experience, why a lot of people fail with health and fitness or don't achieve that outcome is it's structure. It might sound boring, but if I was to probably ask anyone listening to this, when have you felt most consistent with your health and fitness? It's usually when they've got structure. So what we have in terms of our delivery, we have like a private coaching app, and we just basically systemize on a daily basis what that person needs to do, from habits, training, food, movement. That's like a daily checklist. You tick that off, get those small wins on a day-to-day basis. By default, the body will take care of itself, the energy, the fat loss. And we have education that covers all aspects of mindset, training, lifestyle management, and then the just resources as well, Paul. Like, you know, like yourself, a lot of our clients, you know, I talk about this all the time. The Built to Last principle is, you know, it's over a 12-month period, right? I don't work with anyone less than 12 months anymore, Paul. Reason being, how many people listen to this can honestly say to themselves, they've been in back-to-back shape for a couple of years, from January to the end of December. My experience, not many people can. They're in shape for the first few months of the year because it's this new year, new me, right? And then April, June, things start happening. Then the summer. Then as we're filming this now, November, people go, I'll park it till the new year. So we have, like, there are fundamentals to stay in shape year round: training, movement, food, stating the obvious, sleep well, right? But there are different tactics you might need across the year. So this is what we teach people to. So we'll have resources, for example, Paul, you know, if our clients are on holiday over the summer, we'll have a, you know, get holiday stay lean checklist, how to manipulate calories so you can eat and drink more in the evenings, all these different things. And like you said, if you're on holiday, you might not want to do an hour session, but it's 20 minutes just being as effective as possible, better than not doing it. And then we've got Christmas coming up. We've got specific trainings we do for that period of how it's just realistic. It's just like, it's all like me going to yourself, Paul, right? No shit, you're going to look better if you tell Zara you're not having a Christmas dinner and you're not having no desserts, you're not having no drink, right? It's not going to help you, is it? You know? So it's like Built to Last. We have the education resource covering the whole year, but the big one, and this is where I really love what you're doing with the Be The Standard as well, is the community we've built. Like, if there's one thing I've learned with a lot of the human behavior stuff, I say I've done a lot of Tony Robbins stuff. I did Brendan Bouchard high performance certification course with him. Just all the personal development work I've done, I've realised the last part of long-term behaviour change, if you want lasting change in any area, is environment, community. Be around people. Be around people where exceptional standards is the norm, right? And that's why I love the Be The Standard. I talk about it all the time, you know, even Be The Standard, you want others to emulate. And I know you embody that within Be The Standard. But what we've created inside Built to Last is, and this for me is at the heartbeat of why we get the changes we do with 40, 50, 60-year-old men. We're not transforming 20-year-olds who can eat 7 times a day for Tupperware and live in the gym, you know, 3 hours a day. Right? But the community we've built, we have like obviously an online community, you know, where we have monthly trainings. Like, for example, 2 weeks ago, I had an Olympic gold medalist, David Smith, MBE. The man's an animal. You know, he's beat cancer 4 times, taught himself to walk 6 times. You know, he's won gold medals, pre-paralysis, post-paralysis. Just like yourself when you bring in these speakers, but how can you not be inspired when you're learning about the mindset of these these guys, brought in sleep specialists, breathing specialists, moving specialists. Basically, within the community, we'll have inspirational shares from members who are sharing tips and tactics and, again, modern day things that are helping them maybe with family. And then we bring in speakers too. And then what we brought in when COVID was out the way, even though I know it's still floating around, just like yourself, I was desperate to bring in physical meetups, Paul, because there is nothing more powerful when you get, like-minded people together and you share an inspiration. So as part of our delivery as well, we brought in events this year. So I did, a 3-day event in Dubai in April. We did an event in London.
And how did you get to go on those?
It's just part of the program. It's just part of the program, yeah. So
you have to be you have to be a member of the.
Yeah. Unless we want special guests here and there. Special guests here and there. No, but it's very much. But that's the value, Paul. For me, by creating that, I mean, give you some context, mate. I mean, these events cost me absolutely thousands to, hire rooms. You know this yourself, right? Hire speakers.
Yeah.
Do I really need to do physical meetings to run an online business, Paul? No, I don't.
Yeah.
But why do I do it?
Yeah.
Because I know it's the missing piece of the jigsaw, in my opinion, why people don't change.
Yeah.
Because if you're listening to this and you're in your late 30s, 40s, 50s, and you haven't mastered the art of getting and staying in shape, right? It's in my opinion, you've probably tried multiple diet plans, like a lot of people who try trainers. It's not being around people where that standard is the norm.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, even a lot of my clients, if you're around people in your work or your friends, your family don't value health and fitness or to the standard deep down you want, you will conform to the standards of the people you surround yourself with. I can't remember the exact quote, but I love this quote from Tony Robbins. The standards you set are going to be a direct reflection on the expectations of your peer group.
Yeah.
Your peer group generally, maybe ask yourself this, listen to this, is when you felt your absolute best, even the last 12 months, who did you communicate with more? Who did you spend time with more, right? What were the habits? What were the traits of the people you probably spent more time with? Yeah. And it just rubs off. Yeah. And the reason why I speak so passionately about our Built to Last community is that for me is like the glue that sits it all together, which is why so many people, they get their physical transformation, they come for the physical transformation. But one of my great clients, Paul McHugh, world leading hedge fund specialist, 55, got me in the best physical shape of his life, but he said, I stay for the emotional, the mental value. But that's why the community is so important. Yeah. And that's why I put so much cost and time and money into it, Paul, because I know it's the missing piece of the jigsaw. Yeah. Because if it was just as simple as diet plan, training plan, you can print them off the internet for free. Yeah. But within that community, I set the standard. My coaching team set the standard. I think it's an embarrassment if any coach is not in shape. Yeah. And I say to my clients, like, my team, I can't have one of my clients training harder than me. You can't. Yeah, we all raise the bar and pass the baton, of course, but you set a standard that's non-negotiable, and it rubs off.
Right, we're coming towards the end now. There's a lot of learnings in there. What's next for you? Last question.
The next, mate, is just to expand on what I'm doing, Paul. My goal is to be the world's leading force and brand for high performers and business leaders, where when people think of getting business leaders in fantastic shape, physically, mentally, and giving them life-changing experiences, there's just no other place that people think of.
And what maintains your drive? What maintains you to...
helping people not live with regret. Helping people not live with regret. Yeah. Why is that so passionate? Is because I don't live with regret, because obviously it's made me the person I am today, but I know what it's like to live with what if from the age of 13 to 27 until I finally believed in myself. And I know what it was like to let a limiting belief hold me back. And you're living with that what if. And the only reason I lived with that what if for a number of years was because I didn't believe in myself. So my goal is, when it's all said and done, when I look back, however long I've got on this earth, is anyone I coached, was friends with, loved and cared about, I made a difference. And when I was in a position to help them violate a limiting belief, whether it's to do with their body, their mindset, or even giving them inspiration, whether it's in business, that if I can, they can, and I think too many people they have this itch, they have this itch, they have this itch. And just, I think when it's all said and done, no one wants to look back and go, what if? What if, maybe if I'd have worked a little bit harder, or maybe if I'd have trained a little bit more, I could have lived a little bit healthier and had less back pain or whatever it is. You know, I could have maybe, as deep as it sounds, Paul, had that relationship that I dreamed to have. Because I really believe, Paul, you can't give what you don't have. If you're lacking confidence internally, you can't give what you don't have. At some point, it will show cracks in your relationship, a business negotiation, your ability to lead, could be even with your kids. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, and look, there's no perfect blueprint, right? You know. But if at least if you're in the pursuit of trying to be a better person, physically, mentally, professionally, one, you're going to be happier in the process of that, but also, you know, you're more likely to get to where you want to be if you're trying to focus on who you need to become along that journey. You know? But yeah, I just want to look back and know I did all I could for anyone I cared about to make them a better person, you know. But to do that, you need to live it yourself, you know. So that's basically it, mate. You know,
it's a great place to leave it on.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming in, mate. I really appreciate it. And thank you for listening to the podcast.
Thank you.